No one can do. Hey Iceberg, how's it going, man? Can you hear me okay? What's the 305? Is that Miami? If it is, yeah, I had an unbelievable time, man. It's COVID free here. No one cares. You can just do what you want. You can breathe. You can live life like normal again. I should have included that in my tweet storm. Okay, thanks, man. Glad this sounds good. Where are you based, man? I guess you know American zip codes, so I feel like you ain't far. Ah, yeah. Sorry if you told me that already. I should have remembered that because you're not far from me. I'm in British Columbia. I've never been to Calgary before, and I'd like to go. What should I look out for in Calgary if I head up there? Things around. Why am I emotional? Well, it's a big combination of things, man. I saw I saw some people that I've been just learning from and respecting and admiring for 10 years, and got to meet them and shake their hands and just, you know, be so impressed by the people they are, and just really enjoy you know, spending time with them. Then the fact that I got asked to speak at this thing, I'm gonna try and upload that. I don't have the raw footage, But coming all this way, like being a Bitcoin pleb, to actually speaking at the conference on something that's actually really important to me as well, which is user activated soft forks. That was a beautiful thing to be invited to speak about that. To be able to contribute to Bitcoin and feel like I have something I can do for it, and there's no feeling quite like that. Then listening to an audio recording of Ross Ulbricht from prison, I couldn't help but cry during it. He's between him and Julian Assange. Those are the two guys stuck in prison under suffering cruel and unusual punishment for services to humanity. And there's just no greater evil that I can see. I met Julian Assange's brother and Julian Assange's father today, and I spoke with them about how I believe Bitcoin will ultimately lead to their expedited freedom, because Bitcoiners are inevitably going to become the richest, most powerful people in the world, and with all the money in the world and a little bit of will, you can pretty much do anything you want, and people want those people to be free, so they will be. Because what's so great about Bitcoin is this damn volatility, up, down, is it gets rid of all the people that aren't in it ideologically. The only people who can handle this are ideologically committed to Bitcoin, because if it fell to $1 tomorrow, I wouldn't sell a penny on the way, I'd just keep it. So being reminded of that and making me remember again that when Bitcoiners are the richest people in the world, the richest Bitcoiners are the ones that have the truest and most committed principles to freedom. And that just fills me with joy and optimism for the world. Then, of course, Jack Mallers' announcement. That's why I'm emotional, because Jack Mallers announced that, well, I know he's been doing all this work in El Salvador. That was the first country he launched Strike in as a remittance country anyway, that people could, because it was just so necessary. You have all these El Salvadorians in America sending money home to El Salvador, and this was always Bitcoin's obvious use case, because Western Union and all these predatory countries that handle that charge so much money and create so many problems. But he's made a Lightning app that means there's no fees. You can send US dollars to El Salvador instantly over Lightning. No one loses any money. Women don't have to trek with 3 kids and a baby on a bus for 6 hours to go to a place that's actually just closed today for no reason. Instead, if they can just get a $30 Android or something once, then they can have that money. So he's doing beautiful things with Bitcoin. He's focused on the mission. And then he announces that the president of El Salvador calls him and says, that's it, we want to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender in our country. And this is the first country in the world to do this. It hasn't happened yet, but it's probably going to happen within a week or so. I don't really understand the full implications of this yet, but Jack Mallers was on stage for 20 minutes just sobbing the entire time, and I've never seen anything like it. Like, yeah, we got Michael Saylor and Max Kaiser and all these great advocates, but when it comes to what Jack Mallers doing, and it's just such a shining beacon of hope for humanity. I'm just so emotional and happy to see it, and just combine all that with the fact that I've met all these great people, and everyone's just united by their commitment to Bitcoin, and it's so great to be around those people. And then you've got the COVID as well. You've got the fact that I've just spent a couple of days with 12,000 people, all maskless, all shaking hands, hugging. I doubt any single one of us is going to get sick, because this is all a complete scam as far as I can tell, this stupid pandemic. I think while we have a real disease, anyone in a position to be affected by it is going to be a few degrees removed from the people that were here today. I'm not worried about any fallout from what we've done health-wise, and I'm happy if just another side effect of Bitcoin's existence is the continued highlighting and light shining on this ridiculous overreaction to COVID. And the fact that we can have an event like this and suffer nothing from it tells me, well, I just want the world to know that. Because you get these doom and gloomers that are like, oh, people want to go to a fucking conference, do they? And all catch this deadly disease. Well, Darwin will sort that out. They'll all be, Darwin isn't going to do anything to us, actually. We're going to be fine because we all have immune systems. Yeah, it was hard. Great question. It's sorry, with regards to Calgary, it's a great town, just like BC. Just be open to check out everything, pretty much. Will do, Iceberg. It was hard to listen to, and apparently he was thrown in solitary for sharing that recording for a conference. Jesus, man. Ross Ulbricht. I've been speaking to Assange's brother today about these people that find themselves just persecuted for services to humanity, and I truly believe that Bitcoiners will be the richest people in the world very soon, and they'll be the most ideologically pure Bitcoiners as well at the top. They will figure out a way to get Ross Ulbricht and Julian Assange free. They just need to hang on. It took 26 years to get Nelson Mandela free. It's not going to take anything like that for these guys, though we're almost halfway there. We're about a third of the way there. So I think in another 5 years, we'll have a way to get them out. I bought Bitcoin to get rich, but I found freedom. COVID is a lie. You're my kind of guy, Doom Guy. Thank you. I bought Bitcoin not to get rich, but the fact that you found why it exists and what it really is here for is the point. And today was the first day where I had shitcoiners come up, because one unfortunate thing about this conference is that the shitcoinery was out of control. Like 50% of people had a shirt on that had the name of some bullshit blockchain on it that I've never heard of. Like, you know, we even had a guy run up on stage and go Dogecoin to the moon in the middle of a presentation, you know, and with the shitcoinery was genuinely out of control. Even a lot of the sponsors for the event were shitcoin companies like Crypto.com, and you know, it's quite sad to see. And I really just finally, guys, I just lost patience with it. I can't be bothered anymore. I had a guy sit down, a Bitcoin SV guy, who was just like, oh, Bitcoin's co-opted by the CIA. Peter Todd works for the CIA, who, by the way, I met today, and who has been a hero, someone I've looked up to for 10 years. Just, well, beautiful to meet him, of course, and well, he helped me out in a way he didn't have to help me out as well, because I might have some difficulty ahead, but he's helped me out with that. Didn't know me, you know. I've seen some beautiful stuff today that I can't actually talk about on stream, because some people, we're in a situation now where if you believe in humanity and freedom, you actually have to do some stuff that you can't talk about publicly, and I have to leave it at that because this is YouTube. But nonetheless, to sit down with this stupid Bitcoin SV guy, and you know, he threw every one of the SV arguments at me, but the white paper says peer-to-peer digital cash, and you know, he had his shitcoiner friend sitting next to him going like, yeah, I'd use Doge and Litecoin because of transaction fees. And I'm like, look, my arguments after years of doing this stuff are now, I had a woman sit down next to me at a bench who was just telling me, you know, oh, do you have any other cryptos and stuff? I was just, no. I'm never usually this rude to people. I just go, no. And she's like, why? And I'm like, because they're all scams, all of them. And she sits there and goes like, oh, really? Oh, okay. But what do you think about Ethereum? And I'm like, I have a video on why Ethereum's shit. I have to go. And I never usually that rude to people. Like, and I think she'll find the video. I said it's on Bitcoin Mechanic YouTube. Just look it up. I'm so tired of this. I'm so tired of Elon Musk and Vitalik Buterin and these people. Oh dear. Unless you restart. Okay, I think my stream is kind of funny. The internet in the Hilton's a bit funny. But yeah, Elon Musk, Vitalik Buterin, these people, they are trying to destroy what we are trying to build here, and I hate them for it. And it's either evil or it's just stupid ignorance. When you're confronted with what's going on in El Salvador and you just see it, you see that millions of people suddenly have hope. They have a currency that isn't robbing them. They have a means of providing for themselves and creating a future for themselves. And you see Elon Musk be like, lol, no, we're going to do it better, Dogecoin to the moon. It's so annoying, because this is providing hope, and it's like, even the stories that Jack Mallers was telling about the little boy he befriended, that boy can't get a bank account. Even when he's an adult, he's not going to be able to get a bank account. But as a kid in El Salvador, like, I'm a fisherman. That's what I'm going to do. My dad's a fisherman. You know, I can eat. Now he has a wallet with Bitcoin on it, and he can save And in a decade, when he's big and grown, he's going to be free. He's going to be financially free. He's going to be able to do what the rest of us just take for granted. And when these idiots, like these shitcoiners and these people that want to take away from that by attacking Bitcoin and complaining about this, that, and the other, it's so annoying, and it's so sad that I really just can't entertain it anymore, because it's all happening within this ignorant bubble context of people that just want to look at stuff from like, oh, what about these 5 cryptos? Like, I bought some of this, I sold this one. They just don't care. They're not here for the right reasons, and it's just such a waste of my time. Such a waste of everyone's time. That's the main. I'm not scared of Ethereum. I just consider it a waste of people's time. And I'm so tired because we don't have long. We need to get this thing going. What was your speech at the conference about, if you don't mind telling? My speech was about user-activated soft forks. User-activated soft forks are fantastic. When we launched, I don't know if people in here know what SegWit is, but right now we have some amazing technology sitting on top of the Bitcoin network, and we have some bug fixes that happen, all as a result of one soft fork upgrade that happened in 2017. But it was thrown into the network as a miner activated soft fork, whereupon the miners could say no if they wanted, and they did say no, and then the users got together and made a client that would reject blocks that said no, so they were forced to say yes. And as a result of that user activated soft fork, we now have SegWit, which means we now have Lightning, which means people from America can now send Satoshis back to El Salvador for free, rather than having to pay transaction fees, which can be $1 or $3 or $4, which is a lot to El Salvadorian immigrants in America. So the fact that we have that is enormous, and the reason we have it is because of user-activated soft forks. And I had to do my talk because people whitewash the history, and they pretend that the big companies in the space weren't all trying to attack us and prevent us from getting that upgrade. So we fought them and we won as a disparate group of users, and that movement and that mechanism within Bitcoin deserves honoring and cherishing. And I hate the fact that people deny that it was responsible for what happened, because it is the only reason we have SegWit, it's the only reason we have Lightning, and it's the reason we're going to have Taproot soon. And all of these things are how we build what's useful to humanity. So where to hear that recording? I will post it on my channel if I can get hold of it. I was not in the main stage. I was in a secondary, smaller tent. It was totally filmed. I will get in contact with Aaron Van Weerdem, who has invited me to the conference in the first place. He's one of Bitcoin Magazine's writers, and Bitcoin Magazines were the people that put this conference on. I should be able to get hold of it. If I can, I will upload it to this channel, as long as it's not somehow violating something that I don't yet know about. But I believe in the email I was sent, it will be uploaded officially somewhere as well on Bitcoin Magazine's site. So I'll get it out there somehow. It was a quick 15-minute talk. ETH is king scam. Yeah, ETH is the emperor has no clothes. It's the Tower of Babel. It's every allegory about just how bullshit on top of bullshit becomes just a labor of just continuing eventual disaster. And it's just a horrible thing to see. And it's just Floyd Mayweather, I think it was, walked out with he wasn't even pumping ETH, he was pumping some fork of ETH, I think called Ethereum Max, and it's the same logo but red, and at least he got booed, and but I think he stayed on stage. Seeing him do that was infuriating. What are you doing at this Bitcoin conference? Get the fuck out of here. And this is as I was saying with that Bitcoin SV guy, I was like, look, you just don't get it. You don't get it at all. It was cool to see Jack Dorsey heckled, but I was surprised he was even there in the first place. Yeah, the Jack Dorsey's a funny one, and I'm not sure where I stand on this yet. And I'm sure a lot of us, if you're interested in having integrity in your opinions, like I try to be, I still can't figure out Jack Dorsey. Because yes, he's a part of Twitter, and Twitter is just egregious with the censorship, and I hate the hypocrisy of what social media platforms do, where they get all the benefits of not having responsibility for what goes on their platforms. If someone does something awful, on Facebook or Twitter, they are not legally liable for that. But that at the same time they want to have their cake and eat it, because they want to remove stuff they don't like. So they want to remove anything from dissenting political ideologies. They want to remove anyone that calls out COVID for being a scam. The fact that they do that, I'm like, okay, if you want to do that, then you're liable for everything on your platform. So if there's a KKK group that's going somewhere in, then you're liable for that, okay? Like, everything that happens, if they organize some lynching, you're responsible. And they're not willing to take it to that level. So yeah, I hate the social media platforms for that, and Jack Dorsey is the CEO of Twitter, and I don't know how responsible he is for that stuff. I don't know how infected with Silicon Valley culture he is. But Jack Dorsey, when it comes to Bitcoin, has not set a molecule wrong. He has not made a single mistake. Every single time he comes under scrutiny and people question him about how he views Bitcoin and he responds, it's like he gives the perfect textbook response to how a Bitcoiner should view the world and how a Bitcoiner views Bitcoin. And until he does, I have to believe that Jack Dorsey is genuinely a good thing until he isn't. It might be another ticking time bomb, but we'll see. Like, when it comes to Bitcoin, he's sponsoring Lightning. He seems to be understanding, I don't know, he even understands the fact that you can't recreate Bitcoin. You can't take everything that Bitcoin is and start a new network, because it existed in a world that didn't know what it was, so it flew under the radar with a low hash rate when it could have been destroyed. And you can't do that again. Bitcoin has an immaculate conception that just can't be repeated. You can only create digital scarcity once. If you copy it, it's not the same thing. And, well, he seems to just understand that, and I'm impressed by that. I mean, he's obviously not a stupid guy if he's the CEO of Twitter, but so far I just haven't seen him do a step wrong once. You lost all respect for Elon. Yeah, I know. I drank the Elon Kool-Aid. I can't. Look, Omatsu, I wish I could say the same. Back in 2015 and 2016, I used to be like, Tesla's a load of bullshit. Like, it's just a status symbol, whatever. It's not doing any good for the environment, really. Then I started to like Elon for some reason, just because he was so anti-woke and seemed to be so risky on social media. And then I went back to my original opinion. And I regret giving him the benefit of the doubt for a while, because just what a terrible guy. Anyone that attacks Bitcoin, it's not like they're attacking me personally. I'm not that primitive, but they're attacking humanity. They're attacking what Bitcoin can do for the world. They're slowing that down. They're causing damage. Ultimately, they are helping, but the fact that they are not helping in a positive way, and helping instead by attacking it and making Bitcoin demonstrate its ability to fend off attacks, which is useful, by the way, I still would rather be one that's... I'm not going to sit here attacking Bitcoin so that it can survive my attacks, and then I create a stronger organism as a result. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to help Bitcoin wherever I can, because I want to build it. I want to build it constructively rather than stress test it all the time. And not that I think Elon is cognitively awake enough to consider what he's doing all to the good and just stress test of Bitcoin and I think he's just an absolute moron. I think he's a fiat whore. I think it survives in the most egregious way possible, government handouts. I don't think he's of service to humanity at all. And it's weird, because he thinks he's getting us all to another planet and giving us a second home in case there's a disaster on this one. He thinks he's doing more for humanity than anyone else, but someone put it beautifully today, like, I don't want to go to Mars if that's the guy bringing me there. No way. He doesn't understand the fundamentals of humanity. He doesn't have the love for it. So, yeah. Why am I emotional? Was your question? Why am I emotional? Just so much beauty and so much connection and so much purpose. And I said on Twitter, if you don't have the passion I have for Bitcoin, if you don't have that about something in your life, I don't know how you get yourself out of bed every morning, because it's truly, like, I'm just so grateful to come here and to see what I've seen and to know that other people feel like I do in person. I'm super grateful to Tone Vays. He introduced me to Max Kaiser today. Max Kaiser is basically the original guy to evangelize me into Bitcoin back in 2011. He understood the Western activist motivation for it, not the El Salvadorian approach, but the middle class Western comfortable person that suddenly doesn't have any interest for their meager savings in their bank account. And the reason for this is because of a screw up by banks who just got handed a load of money, which is going to translate into inflation and decreased purchasing power for everything I've worked hard in my young adult life to achieve. So that pissed me off. I went to Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street pissed me off, but I discovered Bitcoin there. I discovered Max Kaiser there, and that's how I got into Bitcoin. Any new ideas you heard at the conference that got you excited? Oh, good question, man. Well, I had a long conversation with the guys from Start9. I plug them on the podcast a lot that I do on this channel, the For the Love of Bitcoin podcast. I was quite impressed with their product anyway, though I didn't really see so much how it differed from the other node in a box things like Umbrel and PyBlitz and CipherNode and MyNode and Nodl, I think, is another one. There's a lot of Raspberry Pis running Bitcoin Core things, but Start9's a little different. Bitcoin is just one part of the puzzle, which is self-sovereignty. And what they've done lately, on the way to the conference, I was discovering this, not specifically at the conference, but then talking to them about it at the conference is what has made me just so impressed. They've done to communication what Bitcoin does to finance. They finally made it possible to self-host your own chat in a practical way that just works on so many levels. They've got Matrix integrated via, I think, Synapse as an interface, which means you can self-host your own chat trivially. And once you've got self-hosted chat, you're no longer having to rely on all the allegedly secure apps like Signal and Telegram, which, to be honest, have their problems and they're just not reliable. But if you can host your own and you can communicate with other people doing the same thing, then you're good. You finally have secure comms. You're finally decentralized when it comes to communication. That's just utterly incredible. Well, I shouldn't say decentralized exactly, because that's not right. If you're communicating over Matrix, by self-hosted instance to another person's self-hosted instance, that's not really decentralized. It's not a network exactly. It's just a tiny local, well, not a local network either, but it's just a channel that exists between you and one other person. But the point is, you're not relying on a third party. That is not quite the same as decentralized. But what I find so amazing about Matrix is you can plug in to any other chat interface. So how many chat fucking apps do you guys have installed at the moment? You have WhatsApp, you have Telegram, you have Facebook Messenger, you message people on Twitter, you message people on Instagram, you message people on Snapchat. Like, how many apps have you got to send messages? Yeah, there's additional functionality in a lot of those, but a lot of them are just actual messaging apps, like BlackBerry Messenger. Alright, no one uses that anymore, but WhatsApp, Telegram, they're overlapping use cases. But the point is, if you ever find a good app that does what you want, you have to convince everyone else to use it. With Matrix, you don't. You can just use Matrix, and it will connect to anyone else that's doing that stuff, but you only need the one app. And you get the benefit if other people switch to it, but you don't get the disadvantage if they don't. And that was always the problem. It took me years to get people, even in my family, to use Signal. And now Signal's launching a shitcoin, or they're not launching it, but they're using it. And I'm sick of Signal anyway. They're making a lot of wrong moves. And as far as I can tell, there's no real reason to trust that the open source software that we can verify for their server is actually doing what we think it's doing. So there's still too many elements of trust with it. So we can't talk freely on Signal. And Signal is really the only messaging app out there that we could use. Edward Snowden, supported it and encouraged people to use it, but it's nothing like the same as running your own instance. So thought on the empty mempool block space. I guess, dude, that it's a weekend, but it's been empty kind of all week anyway. Honestly, we've had a lot of volatility in the hash rate, and I think there's a bunch of explanations for why we have empty mempool block space. First is the volatility in the hash rate. There's been two instances where the difficulty dropped by 20%. That meant we had really slow blocks for a while, and we need that. because there are so many bad practices in the Bitcoin ecosystem where exchanges like Coinbase, who I don't know if they still do this, but up until very recently they didn't batch, which is just beyond stupid. So you'd request a withdrawal from Coinbase and they'd just make a transaction and you'd get it. Instead of the exchanges that know how to use Bitcoin properly and not abuse the public resource of the block space, you know, like Bull Bitcoin. When you buy Bitcoin on there, you have to wait an hour, and then in an hour you get a transaction that has your Bitcoin in it. But that transaction contains hundreds of Bitcoin transactions, all in one transaction. That's how you save space on the blockchain. People haven't really been incentivized to do this because blocks are fairly cheap, but these hardcore periods where transaction fees got really expensive has forced people to stop doing stupid stuff like that. So I think we've cleaned out a lot of bad practices in those really bad difficulty drops that we've experienced twice now in the last month or so. That's been great. I think that's helped clear out a lot of bad practices. Then you just have the reality of there's 12,000 Bitcoiners not at home right now that didn't bring their hardware wallets with them to Miami. So you have that element as well. I think that's quite significant. It certainly serves as an explanation for me. And other than that, like, you have, I don't know if we'd see a sudden switch, but Lightning is suddenly just, it's just so usable now. Like, all this El Salvadorian, they taught 22,000, I think, El Salvadorians how to use Bitcoin. All those people are getting remittances from abroad. They're not using the main chain. They're using Lightning. They're all using Strike. So the fact that that's a reality is, we're using Bitcoin to such an extent, but I mean, we need fees, right? Like, we need fees in the long run, otherwise miners won't mine. So we don't want blocks to get too empty. Of course, that's another thought, but I'm not worried about that. Blocks are small enough. They are kind of Goldilocks at the moment. If blocks were any smaller, it would be just annoying and constantly congested, and if they were bigger, running a full node would just be impossible unless you were prepared to buy quite a sophisticated and expensive setup. But anyway, my thoughts on the empty mempool block space. Right now it's Saturday night. I think on Monday morning we'll see it ramp up again as every Bitcoin is back home. And let's see what the difficulty is going to be doing at the moment. Yeah, it's hard for me to load stuff wow, yeah, those are some really yeah, we got nearly empty blocks here. That's quite a surprise to see. It's really weird, hey? I haven't seen that. This looks like, these are some of the emptiest blocks I've seen since 2014, 2015. Oh god, it's bizarre to look at. Not that I had an interface like this back then. I'm using mempool.space, by the way, guys, so I'm going to drop a link. Mempool. I met the guys that make this today. Fantastic. One of the main brains behind it is a guy called Wiz. Wiz also works on Bisq, which is one of the best things. Hey Yale, how you doing? I didn't realize that was you. I know who you are, mate. How are you doing? I've been very emotional. I've been crying a lot today. I'm very moved by what I'm seeing in Bitcoin. Safe travels home. I know, man. I've got to get across the border in like 17 hours or something. I've got to get a COVID test. I've got to get a taxi all the way up to Vancouver from Seattle, so as to avoid the mandatory quarantine, all this stuff. I don't even want to think about it. Do miners have enough incentive to keep mining decades from now? I think so. Transaction fees need to be big and big enough to sustain them, and that remains to be seen. But Satoshi got almost everything else right. I hope he got that right too. But the point always is, if Satoshi didn't get that right, it's not like there's some alternative project that somehow is everything Bitcoin is, but without that one mistake. Because this is my realization recently, not just from this weekend. It's that, like, we spent all this time repping Bitcoin and going on about how great it is and, you know, countering stupid arguments against it. But when it comes down to it, when you get rid of all the irrationality and you return to, you know, just being objective, Bitcoin totally has some problems and some unknowns. But if you look at everything else that way, it's still just like 10 orders of magnitude better and more reliable than the next best alternative. Like, Bitcoin's totally got problems, but the dollar, is that your alternative? is what about, you know, shit coins? What about the euro? What about precious metals? They're all a joke in comparison. So Bitcoin has its problems, but the internet has its problems, right? The internet's got loads of problems, but it's just so good that you're just still going to use it. You're going to use it every day for everything because it's just so fucking good. Do miners have enough incentive? Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I already read that. What a day, guys. What a weekend. What a time, man. I met a lot of people that I'm just overwhelmed with it, really. Like, I'm super grateful. I already said it. I'm super grateful to Tone Vase. He invited me to 2 of his conferences, and I've got another conference in August with put on by Ugly Old Goat. He's a character. He hosts a conference called the Bitcoin Standard, the Bitcoin Standard Conference. That's going to be fun to talk at that. I've got some homework to do for it. But yeah, that's a good question, Omatsu. But I believe so. And they wouldn't, though. They wouldn't have the incentive if we made blocks bigger. Like, that's the one thing that the big block advocates cannot account for, is how the hell do you keep people mining if you have huge blocks and you don't want anyone to pay any transaction fees? Then you have to switch to an inflationary currency, because otherwise you can't sustain the miners, and then you're back. Congratulations, you're back to the system we all wanted to get away from. Watching TV, there seems to be a lot of Wall Street type. How do you feel about these gals trying to profit? You mean, were you... okay. Open widget. Should I open a widget? Your stream. Are you guys receiving stuff alright? Because the hotel internet's really bad here, and it's saying stream status is poor. So if you're receiving that alright. Serious issues that need attention. No data, stream is LP. I don't know. It's saying there's an error. Sorry if the stream's fucking up, guys. It's yeah, sorry, yeah, you were watching TV. Yeah, there's a lot of these assholes around, like, but you know the idea of Bitcoin is for everyone. Like, Bitcoin, I can't keep these people out. But in the hotel, like, I've been in and out of the elevator in the hotel. Okay, thanks, Yale. I've been in and out of the elevator. I've been, waiting outside for Ubers and Lyfts, going to and from places, and I keep seeing people with these armbands on, and when they tell me, like, oh yeah, I work for this investment group, I just like, okay, like, of course, like, I'd rather you were in Bitcoin than you were in something else. Like, you're not buying, I don't know, Lockheed Martin shares or something. Like, you're coming to a Bitcoin conference, you're buying Bitcoin. But inevitably, as a result of being so sort of removed from the humanitarian effort of the thing, they just inevitably end up being siphoned off into Ethereum and going into the places where there's no ideology behind anything. So I'm just like, alright, like, you're here for the most boring reasons, like, you're probably not going to last, because, if you're in here for the reasons I'm here in Bitcoin, you'll just stay for the rest of your life, you'll be addicted. But if you're here because it's just this investment opportunity, like, you'll just move on to the next one sooner or later. Bitcoin's not for investors, so when these types come along, and, like, Michael Saylor's an exception, and there's a lot of people like that, Ross Stevens. I don't mind those people. If they can cotton on to the humanitarian effort of it, fine. To get back into it, D Lunlun, if that's your name. I don't have a problem with wealth. I don't fundamentally resent the rich, or I'm not a socialist like that. I don't want to have that sort of resent to people that are just doing well, even if they're doing well in a sick society and profiting off a sick system. If they're trying to do good with it, they're trying to do good. I've met loads of banker types that are like, that are ex-Wall Street, and they're fucked off with it, and they want to do something good. Like, just like I see loads of doctors that are taking a stand against forced vaccination and medical experimenting on children, and, just because you're a part of the system doesn't mean you can't turn against it and try and fix it. So, but yeah, I just don't really have anything to say to them. Like, when I'm in the elevator and they're like, oh, what are you doing here? Oh, you're speaking. Okay, what are you speaking about? And I'm like, okay, do you know what Taproot is? Like, no. I'm like, okay, well, it's an upgrade that's going into Bitcoin. And they're like, oh, okay. Like, they just don't care about any of that stuff. And to me, that's the important stuff. So Thanks for the chat, Doom Guy. Yeah, you too, man. Screw the suits. So apparent at Bitcoin Miami. Look, I didn't really Yale, man. You watched a lot of the stuff. I didn't see anything. I didn't even see Jack Mallers thing till I came back to the hotel. Like, it's impossible to watch stuff at the conference. Like, you couldn't get into the Nakamoto stage. There was a massive lineup. And there was a screen outside and you could watch it, but like, you don't want to be outside at this conference, man. It's so hot and you're burning. Like, everyone I'm seeing, the core devs that don't come out of their basement very often, are just like burnt to a crisp on the back of their neck. Like, just, you weren't sitting outside watching an hour-long talk, especially stuff with Eric Voorhees and all these idiots that, you know, tried to destroy Bitcoin, come back to it, pissed off that they didn't succeed, and they're going on about, oh, the community's too toxic, and just coming here and moaning and crying. And yeah, it's pathetic, man. Like, you sent me a bunch of messages, Yale, like, I can't watch this shit. And fair enough, there was way too much shitcoining, way too much. I didn't really see a lot of it, but I just saw a lot of shitcoiners. There were these fucking, on the way in, when I was getting my pass, right at the entrance, there were these two guys pumping something called Gay Coin, and this guy just kept yelling, I am gay, Gay Coin, buy Gay Coin, and just yelling it for, I don't know, they were doing it like all day. And the other guy kept saying, it's literally a pump and dump. And just, why are you here? Just, can you please go away? This is not, anyway. Screw the suits, so apparent at Bitcoin Miami. Yeah. Thanks, it's always in the back of my head, Omatsu. Yeah, I know what you mean. I think it'll be fine. Remember, man, it's a fluid system. The difficulty adjustment algorithm is like the second most genius thing Satoshi did, seriously. So if transaction fees start going down and it starts getting less profitable for miners start turning off, then difficulty drops, and then it becomes much easier to mine, and then you can make more money again. So people start mining again. That adds credibility and strength and resilience to the network. That is where its value comes from, or one of the places its value comes from. That reinforces into making the price go up. That means the transaction fees they get up are worth more. The whole thing just sort of exists in its own perfect internal system, where if miners get pissed off, they get an incentive very soon to want to come back. So yeah, at the conference, it's 8 out of 10. Evan Pax. Hi Evan, how you doing? I met someone called Evan today. I wonder if that's you. Yeah, maybe that is you, maybe not. I don't know what you're lolling at, because there's such a delay in the stream. It's like a 10-second delay. You mean, that's pretty funny. Oh, what, the Gay Coin thing? Yeah, lol at the Gay Coin thing. Yeah, the pump and dump was... I know, man, but like, seriously, like, nonetheless, like, you have to wonder, like, why someone would just humiliate themselves by standing at the front of a Bitcoin conference, like, entranceway, you know, getting burnt to a crisp in the sun, holding up a like, you know, a ripped up cardboard, like, Pepsi Cola, like, bit of cardboard, and write Gay Coin on it with a dollar tag, a cash tag at the beginning, and just stand there for 5 hours screaming, I am gay. Like, that doesn't lend a lot of credibility to your alternative currency, does it? Like, I'm not really gonna check it out, am I? Like, like, we've done the joke coins, we've done Dogecoin, and yeah, okay, meme coins can do well, but just, it's not something that you dedicate your life to if you want to do something great, is it? So have some aspiration, people. Jesus Christ, funny stuff, just like the Doge scam coin. Exactly, man. It's just, joke coins are annoying because eventually they get so funny that they explode, and then they get taken seriously, and then loads of people lose their life savings. And then, I mean, look, this is the thing, man. I really want to just state this is a really good point I want to make. If Bitcoin crashed and completely died tomorrow, if there was a catastrophic bug, I would feel a lot of pain, but at the end of the day, I've done what I know is the right thing to do, and while I'd still probably feel some regret, but I believe in this thing, and I'm ready to die on the hill for it. Like, everyone keeps saying I will die on this hill, and I would, and I knew I would in 2017 because I thought Bitcoin was dead, but I held it all anyway. Look, but if you bought a fucking joke like Dogecoin, and you put your life savings into that, and that collapses, how are you going to live with yourself? Because it was never anything more than a joke. It was a stupid thing to do, and you've just ruined your life over it. Not because you believed in a higher purpose, not because you had any mission or any sort of commitment to something great. You know, like if you drown trying to save your child in the ocean, you're fair enough. If you drown because you're being stupid, then that's not the same thing, is it? Like, well, you're dead, so you don't really notice, but like, if you ruin your whole financial life because of a joke, I don't know how you could ever recover from that, man. Like, I really don't, and it's happened. Like, I don't know how real the Reddit posts are, but Dogecoin, people have put life savings into it. People are really, really easily manipulated and scammed, and when the richest man in the world keeps pumping it, people fall for that. I'd say thousands of people, optimistically thousands of people, pessimistically tens of thousands of people have bought Dogecoin and got way deeper than they can handle and just been fucked up from it. And it's awful, man. 70 donors. I don't understand what that means, Yale. I genuinely don't. What does 70 donors mean? Am I being retarded here? I don't know what that means. Yeah, but can you imagine that, guys? Like, you put your life savings into a literal self-admitted joke that's got known critical bugs in it from when it cloned Bitcoin, from what Bitcoin was years ago, never bothered to fix them, just left the thing running as a joke and abandoned the project, and then people YOLO into it because Elon Musk is pumping it and because they like dogs. And I can't even imagine the pain those people must be going through, man. And what's annoying is we get called toxic for trying to help them and to try and go, don't do it, guys, don't do it. But at the end of the day, man, it's nothing new. People have been going to casinos and getting into debt and losing their life savings and destroying their families for decades. I don't bother feeling guilty about not standing outside a casino telling them not to do it, or going and dealing with gambling addicts or drug addicts. Like, people have their problems, I can't fix it. So if people are going to do that, if they're going to invest in Gaycoin or Dogecoin or any of that stuff, they just have to do it, I guess. You had a link in it, so lame. I don't really understand, Yale. I don't get it. 70 donors because you had a link in it, so lame. Am I just tired, or does that seem to be like a statement that just doesn't have anything to do with anything? I don't know. I don't know what you're referring to, Yale. What else is there? Yeah, I wrote a long tweet thread after my experience today. I'm ashamed that so few people donated to Charity Water, with 7,000 plus people watching the stream and however many people there were. Could you tell me a little bit about that? It's censoring your messages? Okay, I can believe that. Fucking Jack Dorsey. Yeah, can you tell us about that, Yale? Because, as I say, I didn't actually see many of the talks today, because it's much easier to watch this stuff at home on your laptop than it is to actually walk around and stand on your feet at the back of a room, like, you know, just uncomfortable. And, you know, the line to have a piss was about, 45-minute wait to go to the toilet, like. So 7,000 people watching the stream and no one donated to Charity Water. What's the deal with Charity Water? Is it something good? Charity, you can't have websites. I get it. Yeah, YouTube won't let you have websites. charitywater.org/Bitcoin. charitywater.org/Bitcoin. If you say it's good, Yale, then I encourage all 13 of you to please check that out and support it. I'll check it out after the stream. Thanks for posting that, man. I imagine it's just getting drinking water to the poorest people. Is that pretty much what it is? Do you think the emotions come from seeing so many like-minded people, or from new optimism for future of Bitcoin? I honestly think it's just a bunch of stuff. Like, for me, just getting asked to talk at it, that's probably a small part of it. It's a big honor. How well that went was good. Meeting a bunch of people that I've looked up to for years. Like, I honestly, I met meeting Max Kaiser and telling him thank you. I've wanted to tell him thank you for 10 years, and now I finally can. That was huge. Stacey Herbert was lovely as well. Meeting Francis Pouliot. Francis Pouliot is an absolute fucking legend. Yale, you know who Francis Pouliot is, right? Francis is just he's just great, absolutely great guy. Um, super happy to connect with me. Really liked him. I met Ben Kaufman. He's the guy who makes Spectre Wallet. Spectre Wallet's the only good wallet in the whole space. It's not a hardware wallet. It's not a signing device. It's just a custom front end for Bitcoin Core. It's the only wallet that I can actually use. It's like Electrum, but actually good. It's incredible. I met Ugly Old Goat, who's kind of, well, he's an amazing guy, but a very crazy guy, really crazy. I'm speaking at his conference in Mexico in August. Yeah, meeting those people was huge and beautiful. Like every 5 minutes, someone would walk past, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, it's you!" Like, thank you. Like, and yeah, that was big. But then Ross Ulbricht talking, the sheer sadness and heartbreak of what he's going through. Meeting Julian Assange's brother and dad, just unreal. Like what those guys have been going through, what Julian's going through, and the fact that they're in the right place. They know that if some part of humanity is going to get those guys out of prison, it's all the energy right now is in Bitcoin for people that love freedom. It's the love of freedom. It's the rejection of COVID. It was Jack Mallers' thing that sent me over the edge, though, for sure. Like Evan, it was Jack Mallers announcing what he announced. It's hard not to watch someone talk with love for Bitcoin and experience of extreme human suffering and cry for 20 minutes feeling like they've done some good and they've helped the world. Like, and I have to just fuck anyone that would shit on that. There's been a whole bunch of like shitcoiners already, like lol, who cares if Bitcoin's adopted in El Salvador, and I can't tell you how much I hate those people and how just fuck anyone that would shit on his efforts there. Yeah, he's like young and naive and he's ridiculous and he's just so optimistic and trying to help the world and all that, but so what if are you not trying to do that? Are you rolling your eyes at that? Like anyone that is, I just feel sorry for you, man. So only 70 donors to Bitcoin, to charitywater.org/Bitcoin. Only 70 donors. It's a Bitcoin trust. They'll hold the Bitcoin for 4 years and use it to bring clean water to the developing world. All right. That sounds like a good thing. I really hope that, I hope they don't lose it. I hope they know what they're doing with the Bitcoin, but yeah, that sounds like a great project on its face, and I hope they get the technical stuff of it right. I hope it's in a multi-sig address where like 5 people have got to sign something to use the money. You're a novice to Bitcoin, D. Lunlun, but does Bitcoin need smart contracts to be useful aside from a store of value and decentralization? Well, yes. No, it doesn't need it to be. Oh, aside from store and value, yeah, because I'm gonna say store and value and decentralization are already useful, but I don't know. That's a strange way to phrase the question. I appreciate the question. It's a strange way to put it, though, for sure. Bitcoin doesn't need to do any more than it already does. It's enough as it is. Smart contracts are. There was a lot of shitcoin talk at this conference about bringing DeFi to Bitcoin and doing what, Solidity does. And it's all coming to Bitcoin anyway, as people finally start to establish real use cases. I mean, Bitcoin's like 12, 13 years old now. We're starting to see people that are actually serious and not just scammers want to build stuff like that. And they're using RSK and they're just using Liquid and they're using RGB. And to answer your question, Bitcoin has smart contracts, and the reason that it's not particularly shouted about or it's not particularly celebrated is because other than scamming people, no one's really figured out that much of a useful thing to do with smart contracts. Because the issue with smart contracts is the implication is that they can enforce the terms of the contract in all circumstances. But they can't. They can only enforce stuff that's native to the blockchain on which they run. And that's not a particularly wide array of stuff. And that's the whole NFT scam. The implication is that if someone sells you something and you have a contract that says this is yours, and that a record of that contract gets uploaded into a blockchain and tokenized, the implication is that if someone violates the ownership that they've afforded me by making that contract and putting it in public, Ethereum's blockchain is going to animate, come to life, and enforce the real world conditions that we expected. And of course it's not. If someone violates the contract of something that is not native to a blockchain, all that happens is a lawsuit. And the lawsuit, all you have to go on is, oh, there's this entry in a public ledger that's a contract. And that doesn't differ in any way from any other contractual agreement that you would make with anyone. And as a matter of fact, if you make a contractual agreement with someone, they will send you, you'll be the one keeping the contract because you're the only one that actually cares about the contract. So NFTs are like, with smart contracts, I've got a bit off topic there, but smart contracts are just, there's quite a hefty limit to what they can actually do. Like, someone's saying amen, you're saying amen, Yale, but I think that's with regard to someone else. Smart contracts, like, it's great, they're coming, like, there'll be something to do with them. Anyone that's serious about making smart contracts is going to do it on Bitcoin. No one would seriously do a smart contract on Ethereum. There's nothing really, I don't know. And it's kind of a hard thing to define. Like, Bitcoin itself is one giant smart contract, kind of. Like, I don't, it's not wrong to call it that, but it's not quite right either, because it's not really how people see it. I don't know exactly how to answer that, but again, like, it's like Bitcoin can't brush your teeth for you, but like, it can bring financial inclusion to billions of people. And I'm not trying to virtue signal, I'm not trying to be Andreas Antonopoulos about this whole thing, but I'm really touched by what Bitcoin can do. And today I felt the power of it deeply and was reminded just so much about, oh, I've spent 10 years without selling a Satoshi unless I fucking had to. And I was reminded of why I did that and why I was right to do that. And that was a big and nice feeling, to answer an earlier question about the emotions. But yeah, D. Lunlund, don't worry about feature. Like, if you want feature richness, like, do one thing and do it well. Like, this is the truth to humanity, man. This is what school beats out of you. It tells you you're going to be this good at maths, and you're going to be this good at English, and you're going to be this good at geography. And it's so stupid, because everyone has a lot of stuff they suck at, and everyone has something that they're really good at, and they're just made for as well. And school just says, look, you need to be just pretty good or good enough at everything, and fuck specialization. And this is the thing, like, you can do anything with these blockchains, allegedly, but we all know you can't really. But even if you could, feature, Bitcoin does what it does, and it's very limited and it's very simple, and that's why it can use a blockchain, and that blockchain is able to be decentralized because it's just doing so little. And it does something we need so badly, and it does it so well that I'm not worried about adding additional features. Additional features is an admission that what it does is insufficient, and it's not. What Bitcoin does is more than enough. It's enough to basically fix 90% of the problems the world has as a result of money being shit. So smart contracting ability, which it actually has anyway, is just such an afterthought, and it will mature. I think in the 30s we will start seeing some interesting stuff that can happen with smart contracts, but right now I've never seen the need for anything that is done as a smart contract that requires the decentralization that Bitcoin offers. I've never seen an actual genuine use case for it. Like, people are always like, oh, we could have like a decentralized Google Maps, and I'm like, yeah, okay, but there is no disadvantage in using a centralized Google Maps, really. Like, you can use other open source software, sure, but like, I've just seen so many people argue for use cases that I'm like, yeah, you don't need a blockchain or a smart contract for that. It already exists. Spectre is good. Where is Ugly Old Goats Conference? It's in Mexico. It's in a city, the first city south of Tijuana, or am I saying that right? You know, Tijuana in the very, very northwestern point of Mexico, literally a stone's throw from the southern Californian border. It's the city south of there. It's called like Espanja or something, or I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, come along to it. It's an exclusively Bitcoin maximalist event, even though Goat, the guy putting it on, refuses to be called a Bitcoin maximalist. He explained that to me today. I didn't quite agree with his perspective on it, but his basic principle was, I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist because I am a sound money maximalist, and if there's a better sound money that comes along than Bitcoin, then I will switch to that. I'm not just about Bitcoin. I understand that point, but I also don't think we use the term Bitcoin maximalist in that way. I think everyone in Bitcoin would happily switch to something better if there genuinely was something better. There just isn't. So we're happy to use the implication with calling ourselves maximalist is there's nothing better, and there probably won't ever be anything better. So this is all there is. Let's focus on this. Ugly likes to be pedantic about it. Fair enough to him. He's still flying the flag of sound money. He's an old traditional finance guy that knows a lot about gold, and he used to know Hayek personally, and Hayek is the guy that said we can't ever make the money we can't ever make the government stop ruining our money. We can only through some sly roundabout way create something different and root around them. And that was him predicting the existence of Bitcoin years ago, and Goat knew him. I don't know how reliable Goat is. Like, I like him as a guy, and he seems like a good person, so I'll take that at face value. And I obviously really appreciate him reaching out to me as well. He's been a big he offered me a lot of really nice and sincere compliments about what I do in Bitcoin, so I appreciate that. Can you imagine the conversations Jack must have had with government officials in that country, dropping mad knowledge on them and the unstoppable path of Bitcoin? Fuck, man. I mean, did you see the talk? Did you see the video of him? Like, I got a phone call. It was a message from the president of El Salvador. Huh? Like, okay. And then he goes to meet him, and the guy's in like a sweatpants or something. Like, you gotta laugh, man. You gotta laugh. Like, but no, I think it probably was a really productive conversation. The president seems like a fairly, like, I don't know. You're supposed to like politicians. That's their main job, is to be likable, isn't it? I don't know. Yeah, I can imagine him sitting there in his hoodie with his hands in the front pocket, explaining Bitcoin and decentralization and all that. And I don't know. I would love to have been a fly on the wall in that room for sure. But yeah. My favorite tweet regarding DeFi. Let's have a look. Instagibbs. Yeah, we like Instagibbs. I hated DeFi, then I put the work in, realized that I hate all finance. Oh, that's interesting. I don't hate all finance. I don't think I agree with that, Yale. I think it's legitimate to borrow and to lend. I think those are legitimate things. I don't have a problem with that. I hate DeFi specifically because the name is a lie. It's all centralized. Everything is built on a centralized platform, and most of the things that are on those centralized platforms are also centralized. My favorite tweet about DeFi was someone saying, someone was criticizing Liquid, and Samsung Mao, I think, responded, "It's not fair to call Liquid DeFi because it's much more decentralized than anything on DeFi," which I quite liked. A contract cannot enforce something in the physical world, only people can enforce it. Exactly. And all that happens if you have a contract that exists in a public ledger is you have evidence of a contract, which, Jesus Christ, there's nothing new about that. And it's not even as persistent as people would pretend. Like, it's like when people used to like put their marriage vows and stuff like that into the Bitcoin blockchain. Yeah, cool. All right. Put your marriage vows into the Bitcoin blockchain. But it doesn't mean that you can't get divorced. It doesn't mean that. It just means that, yeah, your commitment to each other and all that will be the commitment you once made to each other will be reflected for eternity. But it doesn't mean that you can't go back on it, because your love is not native to Bitcoin's blockchain. And that, do people really not realize this? Like, you can't enforce anything using a blockchain that's external to the blockchain. Yeah, clarify that one, Yale, if you're still here, man. Why do we hate all finance? There's nothing wrong with lending people stuff. Like, I've borrowed money to buy Bitcoin before. I'm happy having done so, and I intend to pay the people back that I borrowed the money from in the terms laid out in the contract. I'm not going to run off. Like, I don't see anything wrong with that. Contract cannot, yeah. A global accounting system is plenty for Bitcoin to be. Yeah, man, Bitcoin is more than enough. It's very, like, thank you for the question, D. Lun. I appreciate it. I hope you realize, I would really stress that any like criticism of that nature of Bitcoin's features is a complete sad inability to see the sheer depth and magnitude and relevance of what Bitcoin already offers. Like, it's like, you know, if someone gave you the universe, but you wanted a bag of chips with it. Like, you know, don't ignore what it gives you, you know? In your opinion, is there any downside you see for El Salvador taking this decision on Bitcoin at this stage of its development, or on El Salvador? Well, no, actually, it doesn't create any pressure on the network that isn't ultimately to its strength. I mean, everyone in El Salvador is using Lightning because they're all using Jack Mallers' app. That's the point of centralization, but I mean, that's ultimately that could be a problem. But look, that's not directly Bitcoin itself. That's a separate network running on top of Bitcoin. I don't, but you know what, Icebergs, genuinely, I've been racking my brains for the last 6 hours trying to figure out the implications of one country making Bitcoin legal tender. I've heard a whole bunch of theories. I've heard theories that this means a whole bunch of people in other countries now don't have to pay tax on it because the Bitcoin they own is just a foreign currency. And Bitcoin was never a foreign currency before. It was just considered some sort of commodity. And apparently that can help, like, it can have implications with other tax systems depending on how it works. We need some accountants to go through this and start analyzing the implications of that. My favorite implication of it, to go off on a bit of a tangent, is that other countries now are going to start doing it. Like, we already had Iran doing exports in Bitcoin, but legal tender, something about that feels just... I think it provides a route for banks to be able to provide Bitcoin functionality. They can accept it. Like, my favorite one that I feel would be relevant to me, because I was trying to buy a house for a long time and I didn't have anything except Bitcoin, and people were like, okay, you don't have a job, you don't have a salary, we can't give you a mortgage. And I was like, I've got some Bitcoin, and then they'd be like, yeah, no. Like, and I think if it's legal tender, suddenly if you do nothing but you own some Bitcoin, you can finally get a mortgage, you can get access to credit. That's nice, but I don't think that's really relevant to El Salvadorians exactly. Maybe it is, maybe I'm being ignorant there. Happy to be wrong about that. I don't think, to answer your question though, I don't think Bitcoin is going to be like, oh, this is too much for me. Like, remember, Bitcoin had WikiLeaks in 2010 accept donations via Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin has come under intense stress, like, and it's always under attack, and a country accepting it is just like, you know, like Jack said, it's just one more node. You know, the president has a wallet, like, so what? It doesn't actually really create any additional pressure on it, because like any like complication that needs to come with it is all done externally again to the blockchain. It's all just El Salvador figuring out how they're going to run stuff. If they're going to have a currency that's backed, if they're going to start owning Bitcoin and holding it in a treasury, okay, that's just one more hodler. That's literally all that is. It's just one more wallet with some Bitcoin in it. Bitcoin is not even going to blink. It's not going to make any difference to any of our infrastructure. But if they issue a currency on top of that that's backed by Bitcoin, you know, if you have an El Salvadorian dollar or whatever, and it says, I promise to pay, you know, the bearer on demand the sum of 500 Satoshis or something, if they issue a new currency on that, that's fantastic, but Bitcoin won't even know what's going on. It won't affect it anymore. Enseñada, Mexico. I think that's right. Yeah, enseñada. Enseñar meaning to teach or to... I think that means to teach, but I guess that's a different word. Yale, it's fine, only kidding around, just most people aren't interested, especially for the degenerate gambling. It definitely has legitimate application. Yeah, I agree with you, man. The degenerate gambling is just, it's horrible to see, man. Like, it's, juxtapose that with Bitcoin's glory, and you're just, there's one thing to look at, like, you know, like a piece of shit on the floor, like a dog shit on your lawn. It's one thing to see that, but then it's another to have, like, you know, the most beautiful painting in the world next to it. And that's what crypto degen gambling is. You just look at this stuff and you, like, you were so close to glory. You were this close. You could have bought Bitcoin and held it, and you went full degen in 2017, and now you're still wage cucking it. Like, you could have been free by now. Like, it's just so sad to see, and you fell for just these stupid pump and dumps. You got a Binance account, you've got a BitMEX account, and you're just going 100x. I lost. Like, oh my god, man, it happens. It happens. Unless you have ideological commitment, this stuff will just happen. And no ideology is, you know, has its problems. But how is COVID a scam when so many young people died in India? COVID, I don't mean COVID isn't a real disease, man. COVID is, of course, a real disease, but when I refer to it as a scam, I mean it's not the bubonic plague. I don't really know if I trust the numbers, frankly. I don't want to be insensitive, man. There's a lot of people that claim people have died from COVID. Like, this is the thing, right? This is going to come across like flat earth stuff here, because but I'm going to defend flat earthers despite not being a flat earther. Bear with me here, and I promise I have something that is reasonable when it comes to my opinion on COVID. Flat earthers are, I prefer them to people that only believe the world is round because they were taught that at school. I much prefer the kind of person that says, how do we know it's round though? What if it's flat? I've never seen it from outer space. Like, I prefer that, even though I think it's stupid and I disagree with it. But in the case of COVID, I haven't been able to confirm anything. I've asked so many people. Reconnection successful. Hey, I might be back now. Sorry about that. The stream went down for a second. Hold on. I'm gonna text yeah. Hello, is anyone there? Yeah, sorry about that. The Wi-Fi in the Hilton is really pretty patchy, man. Yeah, sorry, I was on a rant about COVID there. I was explaining myself. Yeah, I just know too many people that have had awful side effects from the vaccine, and I know no one that has had a bad effect from COVID. I only have data that, I'm sorry, I just don't trust. Like, I'm told Brazil is a disaster and India is a disaster, but I can't confirm that myself. And I know that's the flat earther situation, but this is not a situation where I can just trust the authorities, because they're not being honest, and the newspaper, the media is not being honest either. I think there's an agenda, and I'm not going full conspiracy theory with it, but at the same time, the media like clicks, they like fear porn. Everyone starts off the day with a fresh cup of coffee, and how bad's COVID today? Like, oh, how many people died? Like, people love it. People are lapping it up. People get to feel like they have a purpose in their life by wearing a mask. They get to feel like they fought in World War I because they wore a mask. Like, I saved a grandma today. Like, it's giving people purpose without the hard work of having to actually do something difficult. And there's also all this Stockholm syndrome as well, which is a bunch of people, you know, that have had their business destroyed and had their children lose a year of their childhood and all this stuff. And all of that might be for nothing, actually, because it turns out that Florida and Texas have completely ignored this disease, and Sweden's completely ignored it, and basically not had any different result. So, people won't be, they won't have had a different result. So, sorry, I got distracted by a couple of messages there. We know now that the lockdowns and the masks don't work. We know they're not effective. We also know that, you know, traveling around America, it's still federally required to wear a mask in the airport, but you're in states that don't require it. You know, I just don't think the whole thing is about health. It's just about stupidity, and I think it's all misguided. And look, that's what I mean, Joe Schmo. To answer your question, when I call COVID a scam, I'm not saying it doesn't even exist. Like, I'm not doing that, man. It's not like humans don't have viruses come around that hurt us. And, like, first off, it was obviously a lab leak, and that was a conspiracy theory, and I'm just tired of conspiracy theories that are obviously true being called conspiracy theories. COVID was a lab leak. China obviously covered it up, and then they exported a totally illegal, a bunch of health authoritarianism around the world, which is unjustified, and to add insult to injury, it's ineffective, but it's a complete affront to liberty. Like, Australians now are not allowed to leave the country, and, like, you know, big Bitcoiners like Stephen Lavara, it's screwing. Like, they wanted to come to the Bitcoin conference, but they just want freedom in general, and it's like, no, you're not allowed out. What kind of sick logic is that? To protect you from COVID, we're not going to let you get out of our country. Like, you're not telling me that's about a disease. No way. That's power drunk politicians. And they're never going to let this thing go. We've got Justin Trudeau floating the idea and pushing through the idea of suspending elections in Canada while there's a pandemic, because we're so responsible. We don't want people going out and voting and catching COVID. Yeah, right. That's definitely about health. It's not about you turning yourself into a dictator for life. Like, come on, guys. Like, anyway. Since Japan have considered BTC legal tender, since Japan have considered BTC a legal tender as well in the past, apparently, what's different today with El Salvador, in your opinion? I didn't know that, Iceberg. Like, can you elaborate on that a little bit? Well, that's completely unknown to me, and it sounds like you're asking me, but frankly, I wish I knew more about it. I'm waiting for experts to tell me. I don't know the implications of being legal tender. I think when it comes to El Salvador, like, if that is the case, my immediate thought on that is, yes, El Salvador, yes, Japan might have done that, but Japan is not a country in anything like the shape and awful state that El Salvador is in. El Salvador, Japanese people aren't all relying on foreign remittances. They have a healthy enough economy. It's not doing as well as it used to be, but El Salvador, like, those people are just given, this is just an amazing chance for them, and the government actively supporting it just means you're gonna watch like one of the poorest and most like damaged countries in the world, El Salvador, over the next 20 years, over the next 5 years, become a prosperous hub thanks to this move. And that's like, you're not going to see that kind of transition in Japan because no one really cares about it, because no one's really motivated to. They'll just carry on using the yen. I don't know what the implications of Japan doing that are, but if they did do it, the thing I mentioned earlier about other countries' tax implications changing would be irrelevant, so I might have to take that back. And also, I said it with a big asterisk next to it anyway, because I don't know what I'm talking about with regard to legal tender. It's hyped up more than what it is, that's the problem. Yeah, Omatsu, if we're talking about COVID, yeah, of course. What was that? I thought YouTube cut you off. Vaxaholics Anonymous. I like your name, man. Yeah, YouTube is, that wasn't a coincidence, that wasn't some dark conspiracy thing, man. It's just the Wi-Fi and the Hilton and shit. That's all it is. Are you going to have to quarantine when returning to Canada? Yeah, but I'm coming in over the land border. I'm not flying in. I'm flying to Seattle rather than Vancouver, and then I'm driving from Seattle up to Vancouver. So the requirement then is that you just have to isolate at home. You don't actually have to go to the hotel and spend $2,000. So I definitely made my life easier there. Bruno, why would I get a vaccine to a virus that has a 97% recovery rate? 97? What? It has, well, maybe for you, it's a 97% recovery rate for you if you're 80 and you already have a comorbidity, I think. I don't think you're anything like as likely to not recover as you state there. If you're under the age of 40, you have more risk of dying from the flu than you do from COVID. Control, says Yale. Absolutely. Power drunk politicians, they can't believe, like, a little bit of fear, and look, we can tell everyone they're not allowed out their house without a mask. You're not allowed to even walk your dog without a mask. Like, look, they'll do it. They're all so scared. JRD, I don't understand how people don't see through all these inconsistencies you listed of the COVID scam. War is coming. Everybody, look, man, people don't want to see it. Like, JRD, look, man, if you've had your business destroyed and you've committed a year of your life to intense sacrifice. Like, there's people that are like, oh, there was a COVID outbreak in my school, so I quarantining my kid, my 8-year-old, at home. So I fed him supper under the door, and he was crying, and I couldn't hug him, and I said from the other side of the door, I'm so sorry that you're alone. You know, I hope you're okay. It's going to be another 13 days. Like, people were actually doing that, and at least they got roasted for it. Like, the woman that tweeted that she did that, everyone was like, you're not fit to be a mother. You're a disgraceful human being. Like, yeah, but even that, like, you're just attacking a woman online. That's no good either. Like, people are not seeing it. If you make sacrifices like that, JRD, if you actually make sacrifices like that, the last thing you want is to actually wake up and go, oh, this isn't that dangerous, is it? That's the last thing you want, because then you've just suffered for nothing. So these people keep doubling down and tripling down and going like, we need to tighten restrictions, we need 2 masks, okay? We need 2 masks. Like, people are just going to keep going further and further down it because it hurts. Like, the more emotionally you commit to what you've done, and the Stockholm syndrome that people have, you know, everyone's now. We were sitting on this stupid plane. I got this plane down to Vancouver, and I heard the guy behind me be like, "Oh, the sooner this is all done, the better. Take these anti-vaxxers outside and shoot them." I'm like, so you love, like, you want to, like, just go think about that statement for a while. Take the anti-vaxxers and shoot them. Like, if your concern is people's health at the end of the day, so if people won't be healthy, you'll shoot them dead. That's how concerned you are for people's health. Like, just, that's how stupid people are being. I mean, I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed in humanity right now. But if we didn't have, then you've got Bitcoin, like a lighthouse in a river of shit. Anyway, war is coming. Everyone globally can feel something is wrong in society. Agreed. And I'm so, again, Bitcoin is, if we didn't have Bitcoin, I just don't know if I could deal with it right now. No talk about getting healthy, boosting immune system, eat right, exercise, wash hands, wear a mask, and watch the news. Yep. Oh, and get a jab. Yep, but you forgot every 6 months, right? You got to do the Microsoft software updates. You know what's funny? I came across the magnet on the arm, you know, of people that got vaccinated and they're sticking magnets on their arm. And the first time I came across it, it was someone saying, this is a psyop. They're doing deliberately stupid conspiracy theories to discredit anti-vaxxers. And I was like, all right, and wrote it off. And now I keep seeing people I really like have a fair amount of respect for saying, yeah, my cousin had it yesterday and the magnet stuck to his arm. So I don't know, I might look into that one a bit. If it's stupid, it's stupid. I promise to be honest with myself about whether it seems stupid or not. Grubels tweeted, apparently it was never legal tender. I was under the same impression. Okay, and Grubels is, I like Grubels a lot, super reliable Bitcoiner. I don't follow him because he spends so much time talking about how shit Ethereum is, and I agree, bro, Ethereum's shit, but can we just stop talking about it? Bruno, they are incentivizing people with donuts to get the shot. Yeah, I know, that's just a beautiful hypocrisy about it. It doesn't invalidate stuff, but it is a nice irony when it's like, yes, we care about your health so much that when you get this ridiculously poorly tested vaccine, we're going to give you a donut. And we know that obesity and poor diet are the main complicating factors to people that do get complications from COVID. Exactly, Bruno. And some places require a mask to enter a restaurant and then remove the mask inside the table. Yeah, of course, every restaurant lets you remove the mask when you're eating, otherwise you wouldn't be able to go to a restaurant. In BC, where I live, you can't go inside, so they've done all these, like, technically outside, but you're still under a plastic seal, but you're not inside bricks, so totally safe. I mean, like, I don't want to keep taking cheap shots at it, man. Like, people are just complying with stupid legislation and trying to keep their businesses going, so that they're adhering to the rules, even though the rules are stupid. But, like, it is madness, and it's been a real crying thing for me to just see everyone at this event just having a great time. No one's paying any attention to COVID. Like, I'd see like one person every 500 wearing a mask, and I don't want to be mean about it, but I'm just like, do you really think that's doing anything? Like, you've got 12,000 hot, sweaty Bitcoiners, like, all like just mushing past you. It was the most overcrowded event. Like, they oversold tickets to the extreme. Like, there was so many people at this thing. It was like 2,000 people could sit down in the main hall, and there were 12,000 tickets sold or something. It was very, very oversaturated. But like, to see a few people wearing masks, it was like, just like, you really are just, what are you doing with the mask? Like, what are you doing with that? Like, think about it. Like, it's the hottest day ever. It's like 33 degrees or something. You're wearing a mask in that heat, like, just, I don't know. Maybe they had a mark on their face they wanted to hide, so like, oh, I'll just wear a mask and no one will see it. I'll believe that. That makes me feel better. All right. Nothing has made any sense since day one. Since day one, Bruno. When I started with COVID, I was fucking scared of COVID at the beginning. I was seeing those videos leak out of China that I now believe were all just punks. It was just China just punking us. I believed those videos of people collapsing. I believed the stories, and I was wearing a mask and eye protection and washing my hands red raw, while the World Health Organization kept saying it's not a pandemic and China is the best country in the world, and you don't need to wear a mask, and China is the best country in the world, and that was, and no one was paying any attention to it. And around April, I think, that was when I started just slowly easing off it, and I think by May, I realized, oh, the real threat is authoritarianism again. Of course it is. Like, my immune system can fight off COVID, it can't fight off government oppression, so that's the real enemy, so I switched. And I've been switched since then, and the whole world did the opposite. The whole world was like, oh, it's just the flu, bro, till about March, and then they suddenly all got really scared and quarantined, and that's when I was like, oh, that's annoying, because we just got all the data in, and it turns out it's not very dangerous at all. So can we, oh, too late. So, those are my fave tweets. Yale, what were your fave tweets? What? Those are my, what, if people dunking on Ethereum? I'm just bored of, I know Ethereum shit, we all know Ethereum shit, like, I'm just so bored of it now, like, it's just gratuitous at this point, like, Ethereum's garbage, we know it's garbage, like, I've had enough of reading about it, like, today was the first day where, I'm not that rude or disagreeable a person, but people sitting down next to me shitcoining, I was just like, just go away. Like, I don't talk to people like that ever. I'm just so tired of it. Like look at that on the screen. Jack Mallers, he's just got 20,000 people bitcoining and like doubling their income that they receive from remittances abroad. Like, they've just cut out Western Union. I don't want to hear about your stupid chain or your smart contract. I just don't. So 99.9% of people in Japan are wearing masks, and if not, you feel the eye pressure, like you're breaking the law. Yeah, of course, man. The social ostracization of people that aren't going to comply with this stuff is evil, man. Of course, that's how they get compliance. You don't have to wear a mask, but everyone else is. Have fun feeling like a fucking weirdo with a naked face. Anyway, this COVID thing is really weird, and even weirder how some people have bought into it. It's really weird. Yeah, it's a lifestyle now. Like, COVID fear is just, it's people's new god. It's worship of moving goalposts and health authorities, and it's funny to see, isn't it? It's funny. Bitcoin Twitter was first to be worried. Yeah, right. I mean, it's a very, very, I don't know what the word is for Bitcoin Twitter, but Bitcoin Slack as well. That's an area where you get some really like ignored news and some very conspiracy theory kind of stuff from people that aren't afraid to think outside the box. So I don't want to compliment my own space too much, the one that I occupy, but yeah, Bitcoiners are people that are willing to think stuff that isn't in the mainstream, for sure. So they were lapping up COVID at the beginning, and people were like, I was buying supplies, tins of soup I was never going to eat, even if there was, I'd rather die of starvation than eat the crap I was stacking up on. But like, yeah, I did it. I went full prepper for a couple of months, man. I bought some, I was buying N95s in Home Depot. I was doing everything, man. I was for a good month, a solid month, I was not going out unless I had that N95 mask on. Then I realized I didn't even have filters in it, so it was just open anyway, so the whole time I was doing absolutely nothing to help me. By April, Bitcoin Twitter was like, this is not very dangerous. Yeah, I started seeing the good stats, I started realizing this is a joke. Bitcoin Twitter always ahead of the game. Yeah, but actually see you, Bruno, thanks for tuning in, man. Bitcoin Twitter was, it was ahead of the game. Bitcoin Twitter is ahead of the game. But there's a lot of Bitcoiners that are still paranoid about COVID, believe it or not. Bears repeating, always. Cheers. Mara Pool just mined a Taproot block. Holy shit, did they? Man, let's take a look. So it wasn't all just marketing. Thanks for telling me. I see the last one is via BTC. Poolin. How long ago was this? What block height was it? Sorry. I've gone back like 9 blocks now. I don't see any Mara or pool blocks. Oh, there it is. Got it. Oh yeah, and you can there's a quick way to figure that out actually. Block 686453. I don't like this situation, to be honest. Like, I don't want to be in a situation where I'm grateful to a miner for allowing me Taproot. That's just, I can't believe I'm in this stupid situation. But I'm not, because there's a forcing client on the network that I released. So I'm actually not in that situation because I fixed it. So yeah, Taproot's coming, guys. Taproot is undoubtedly going to be here in, well, actually, let's not count chickens. Antpool can flip a switch, and then we don't get Taproot at all. Well, you don't really rest on it until we got 993 blocks left in this period. We've mined 1,000. We need another 800 blocks roughly for Taproot to lock in. So don't start uncorking the champagne yet, guys, because we're not there yet. Thoughts on empty mempool? I always enjoyed seeing it empty. Yeah, someone asked about that earlier. Was that you, Yale? You asked about the empty mempool? No, I don't think it was it? Yeah, it's not a concern. That was, someone was concerned about it earlier. The concern was, you know, transaction fees. Is it sustainable? Yes, because difficulty drops if it's not, and then it becomes sustainable again. Yeah, it was you on it. Yeah, sorry. I didn't realize it was you yet. I hadn't checked your name. Yeah, the empty mempool. I don't know. I think it's increased use of Lightning. Sudden intense spikes in intense drops in hash rate, meaning that transaction fees kept getting really expensive for like 3-week periods, or you know, maybe a bit less than that, meaning companies had to stop doing stupid stuff like just doing individual transactions when they could have batched, and you know, still using, you know, I think blockchain.com recently switched finally to SegWit. So companies are just never. Satoshi Dice used to do like hundreds of transactions in every block, right? And that's because block space was free back then. And people will just do that forever. They will just use up all the resources there are, and until you go, okay, there's actually a fee to do that, and then they're like, oh, well, it's not economically viable for me anymore, so I'm gonna stop. So that wouldn't explain it emptying like it has right now, but you know, I think it's good. I think it's a natural part of it. I wouldn't be concerned about it. I like seeing it empty. There's the explanation of high fees that keep happening. Mean companies have abandoned the wasteful practices they've been doing. The fact that it's a weekend, the fact that all the Bitcoiners are in Miami and they didn't bring their Bitcoin with them. I think those are the 3 contributing factors. Normally there'd be some sort of difficulty adjustment that could also explain that, but actually there isn't. We're only going to go up by 1%. So we're finding blocks maybe like, you know, every 9 minutes and 50 seconds or something, on average, rather than every 10 minutes, but that can't really be used as much of an explanation. Why didn't he jump on stage when that doofus was up there? Why didn't he jump on stage? I can't remember. Are you talking about the Dogecoin to the moon stage crasher? Blocks aren't even coming in faster than 10 minutes after the last drop. No, they are. We're still going for a +1 difficulty adjustment, which means they're faster. I think it's a bit surprising that more hash hasn't returned. What does my mempool say? Yeah, okay, we're going for plus 0.1% adjustment. So basically we've been finding blocks every 10 minutes, maybe every 9 minutes and 59 seconds. We've currently got 2 blocks worth of transactions backed up, or a block and a bit. But the last, I mean, this is crazy. It really is. I haven't seen the mempool like this for a long time. And so it's weird. Like, I gotta say, it's weird. I'm genuinely perplexed by this. Like, the old theory was like, I'm convinced that 10 years from now, Bitcoin will have a lot of transactions or none. And right now I'm like, it's got less than usual. What's up with that? But yeah, it's all to the good, guys. It's the world's most secure database. If you want to put data into it right now, it's kind of free as well. So that situation isn't going to last. So if you want to open Lightning channels, it's always good to do it on a weekend, but now is obviously best. So open some Lightning channels, guys. Get Lightning going. Lightning's really pretty much mature enough now to be reliable, and help get it going, help get it started. It keeps censoring your messages because I said blockchain.info. Yeah, well, this is one of the times where I appreciate you, YouTube. Thanks for blocking out that. Yeah, do you want to know something, guys? I went to a party last night. Well, I don't know. On the way to eat, we went to this bar next to the conference, and there's this woman there that works for blockchain.com, who's been into Bitcoin for like 3 months or something. And me and Tone she was like, "What? Isn't it a good company?" And me and Tone were just like looking at her like, "Oh God, you don't know the history of what this company has done in Bitcoin. Like, they used to email you your private key if you requested it. What else did they used to do? Oh yeah, the generation of that private key used to come from random.org, except that they kept making the requests over HTTP instead of HTTPS. So all they ever got was an error message saying, please don't make these requests over HTTP, and then they would just hash that same thing every time and then they generated a bunch of insecure wallets, and all the money got stolen by a good guy who was a white hat hacker called Joho, who went, yeah, there's some bug in whatever these wallets are because I just stole all the money from them. And he returned it actually because he was just doing a good thing. But that was another one of blockchain.info's funny things. Then the worst thing they did was just support Bitcoin Cash, and even on their block explorer now it keeps giving you the option to flip between and making this false equivalency between the two. They're just shit in every way. And this woman was just sort of standing there like open mouth with like, holy shit. And then she was like, what do you think about Ripple? And I was like, okay. I was like, I can't even be bothered to explain that, like, just whatever. And then I think we just left and got a steak, me and Tone. It keeps censoring my messages because you said blockchain. Just said the guy announced native SegWit support on stage there in Miami. Okay, so blockchain.com are announcing native SegWit support. Alright, cool. I mean, how many years have they had to do that? Is it 4 years ago we got that in? Jesus Christ, man. And that's like, yeah, great. I mean, maybe they'll start batching as well. I don't know if they ever did. But no, to be honest, who's using blockchain.com? Like, who is using it? It's notoriously bad. It's the worst wallet out there. It's a web wallet, and the kind of people that use that aren't interested in self-custody. So they're just going to leave their coins on there anyway. So there's no blockchain activity happening. So I don't really know. Maybe there's a little obtuse. But what non-Bitcoin content do you consume on YouTube? Well, that's a good question. I don't really get much time. I don't really get much time to watch YouTube at the moment. It's just too low on the list of priorities. Let me load up my YouTube here and see what it recommends. Dr. Berg. I like Dr. Berg. He's a doctor. His doctorate is he's a chiropractor, and he has a video on nutrition. It's totally illegitimate stuff, but I've had like some problems in my body before, and like spent months trying to sort them out, years even, and then there'll be like an 8-minute video of him where he's like, yeah, if your back hurts, do this, and it like totally fixes it. So yeah, he's mainly about nutrition though, so I don't and I like his nutrition though. He's a keto guy. I'm a carnivore recently anyway. I've been eating pure carnivore and having a great time. So there's that. There's some music by Girl Band. Girl Band are just great. There's some music by Weather Report. They're an old fusion band. Some music by Steely Dan. So basically, to answer your question, a lot of music and some health stuff to do with like nutrition and to do with like lower back pain and stuff, which I don't suffer anymore thanks to Dr. Berg. Yeah, I agree. Dr. Berg is good. Really like Dr. Berg. He's I don't know, I've sent him. I had this like crippling pain in my lower back for a while, like so bad. I honestly was like, this is it. Like, my life is over. I'm gonna be living on painkillers. And then he has this video where he's like, find the equivalent spot on the front of your stomach, press into it, like dig into it, massage it out, and oh my god, like it totally freed it up. I was happy again. It completely got rid of the pain. Like, yeah. And I sent him a message. Like an assistant got back to me, but I sent him a message like, dude, you've just like fixed, like I was in serious pain for like a month, and it's just totally gone in like 1 minute after watching your video. And you know, I went to an osteopath. They didn't help at all. It was like $200. So yeah, big fan of Dr. Berg. I'm glad someone here knows him. What non-big? Yeah, sorry. Time for you to go, lady, says Yale. What you're talking about, that woman me and Tone were berating. Yeah, she looked horrified actually. I was like, look, you can't, if you have any integrity and you work for a company like that, you're just not gonna last. You need to, I was like, go and work for Swan Bitcoin. That's the American version of Bull Bitcoin. They only do Bitcoin. They're not scammers. Go and work for them. So yeah, the dude was brain dead, so tone deaf. I don't know who you're referring to there, Yale. Sorry, man. Damn, I need to get some better priorities. Yeah, you watching YouTube all the time? Have a kid, and then you won't have time for that anymore. That's just like, if you have time, the devil makes work for idle hands, my friend. So if you don't have, if you don't have the time to do it, you won't do it. But if you have the time, you know, you're just gonna do it. Like, if you just stop, you'll just sit there like, I'm bored, I'm gonna watch YouTube. Anyway, I recommend Dr. Todd Grande and JCS Criminal Psychology. I think you sent me one of them once, yeah. True crime and psychology. Anyway, I've got a plane to catch in about 4 hours or something, just worryingly close, and I've got to get a taxi all the way up to Fort Lauderdale from Miami. It's like an hour drive. So, yeah, my plane I think is at 6 o'clock or something. So I've got to be up just stupid early. So that means I've got to end the stream, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and if you can attend a Bitcoin conference, do it, because it changes everything actually. Like, there's this psychological phenomenon of you know, the whole Arab Spring phenomenon that happened in what was it, 2011 I think it was, or 2012. The Arab Spring was this concept that, like, if you feel a certain way and someone else feels a certain way, you might not ever know that you both have the same feeling. But the minute you rise up together and you get visual confirmation and reflection of how you feel in someone else, and that grows and bubbles, you suddenly get revolutions. And when you get that confirmation and that psychological feedback from other people, and you see that they feel the way you do, I mean, this is why public protesting is so important. And it's because you suddenly have that connection and that reinforcement, I guess is the right word. And it was why the Arab Spring was just suddenly like, hey, like, billions of us, or millions at least, feel a certain way, and nothing's happening because we're all grumbling about it. This is what it is with COVID too. Like, the media don't cover it exactly, but eventually they will just keep on with this stupid shit, and eventually there'll just be millions of people in the street just going, we're not leaving. Like, this protest is never going to end. Like, traffic is not going to move. We're going to shut down London. We're going to shut down Melbourne. We're going to shut down New York. We're just not moving. Like, yeah, some of us will go home to bed, but there's just millions of us here. When you see other people do it and it reinforces it, it's incredible. So I don't know what the term is for that psychological phenomenon, but when you go and hang around other Bitcoiners in the real world, and you just see everyone have it, like, I mean, and this wasn't even a great conference for that, because it was just like 50% shitcoiners. So come to the ones, I'm going to rep Tone's conferences here. Come to the what am I trying to say here? The Enseñada conference in northwest Mexico. Come to that. That's not Tone's conference. That's Ugly Old Goats conference, the Bitcoin Standard. There's not going to be anyone there. There's smaller conferences. They're, you know, hundreds of people rather than thousands. But it's just good to see, and it's good to meet other Bitcoin maximalists and people that want to do what Bitcoiners want to do, rather than just meet like boring people with companies and blockchain technology and all this just incredibly boring stuff. Like, you know, go and see them, go and meet them, go to the Mexico conference, go to the Dubai conference if you're in that part of the world. I doubt it. I always stream too late for Dubai people. And go to the Nevada conference in Las Vegas. And yeah, check these things out. We've got Unconfiscatable, the Bitcoin Standard, and the Financial Summit. And they're all Bitcoin only, but really Bitcoin only. They're not like, oh, we're just Bitcoin like today's conference was. And really, it just had a lot of sponsors from shitcoin companies and stuff. Check out Motivational Doc on YouTube. He has a lot of similar things to Dr. Berg. Pressure points and things seem to have an effect. Great. Iceberg, thanks for the stream. Anytime, man. I really enjoyed talking to. I've seen you a few times, and I really appreciate you tuning in, Iceberg. I'm glad you enjoyed the streams, JRD, and Omatsu. You also enjoyed it. Thanks a lot, man. It really means a lot. Yeah, if you got anything you want me to discuss on Bitcoin specifically, any videos, I'll make them. Tone usually does Unconfiscatable in Vegas. Yeah, that's the next one. He's doing that in March. He might move it if they're still being silly about COVID, but I think actually Vegas, Nevada has already got rid of the mask mandate. They went straight from, they didn't do any halfway measures, they've just completely got rid of it as far as I can tell, so I doubt that'll be coming back. America is still the land of the free, guys, even if it doesn't look great. It's the blood that runs through the place. It has freedom in its veins. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in, everyone, and come to a Bitcoin conference if you can. Thanks, Pure Wonka. I hope I travel safe. I hope I get back without any sort of issues. Thanks, guys. Peace.